This is somewhat of a familiar story in Genesis chapter 19, verse 12 to 14. It's the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, and how the Lord had made a decision that He was not going to put up with this sin any longer. He had decided that the abomination of homosexual lifestyle was not acceptable with Him. This is one of those kind of sermons that sometimes people get mad. I'm not preaching this for you to get mad. I'm preaching this so you can understand that God sends warnings and encouragements. And so, before He destroys the cities, He sends a warning to Abraham. And He tells Abraham, I'm getting ready to destroy the city. When someone gives you a warning like that, it doesn't need much interpretation. You don't need deep revelation. You just need either to believe it or not believe it. Yes. And so, the Lord sends angels to the city because Abraham had his nephew there, and his nephew's name was Lot. Yes. How many of you know that when you serve God, God not only watches over you, but He watches over your family members too? Amen. He even has His eyes on family members that aren't living right. If you serve God, you have double blessings for you, your kids, your cousins, your parents. That God will see them and tell you and give you warning for them. Now you must understand that it's that person's responsibility to restore. You get to verse 12, and the men said unto Lot, the angels, hast thou here any besides son-in-law and thy sons and thy daughters, and whatsoever hast thou in the city, bring them out of this place. For we will destroy this place, because the cry of them is waxed great before the face of the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it. Someone said destroy it. Destroy it. He didn't send them to play around. He sent these angels to destroy the cities. And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-laws, which married his daughters, and said, get up, get you up out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law. It's very direct. He didn't beat around the bush, but they looked the warning in the face and they laughed. Genesis chapter 41. Genesis chapter 41, verse 22. This is also, for some, a very familiar story. It's the end of the life of Joseph after going through being thrown in a pit, sold into slavery, and put in jail. He ends up standing before Pharaoh. Pharaoh had a dream, a vision, couldn't interpret. And Joseph begins to interpret the dream. Verse 22, we're going to read down a little ways to verse 32. It says, I saw in my dream, and behold, 7 ears came up in one stalk, full and good. And behold, 7 ears withered, thin, and blasted with the east wind, sprung up after them. And the thin ears devoured the 7 good ears. And I told this unto the magicians, but there was none that could declare it to me. Joseph said unto Pharaoh, the dream of Pharaoh is one. God has showed Pharaoh what he is about to do. 7 good kine are 7 years, and 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is one. 7 thin and ill-favored kine that came up after them are 7 years. And the 7 empty ears blasted with the east wind shall be 7 years of famine. This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh. What God is about to do, He showed unto Pharaoh. Behold, there shall come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt, There shall arise after them 7 years of famine, and all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land, and the famine shall consume the land. And the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of the famine following, for it shall be very grievous. And for that the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice. It is because the thing is established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass. The Lord gave me a title this morning. It's called Warnings and Encouragements. Let's go before the Lord in prayer. Father God, in the name of Jesus, we bless you. We love you and we lift your name up on high. You alone are God. You know the beginning from the end. You know all things. You said the eyes of the Lord go to and fro across the earth, seeing whose heart is made perfect in him, seeing whose life he can strengthen. And Lord God, even now I pray that you speak to us. Speak to us. Use your prophet tonight. We give you praise and glory. In Jesus' name. Amen. This morning I want to talk to you about warnings because God has consistently for the past 2 years been sending words of warning to this ministry. And I want to make it clear that I recognize and understand that it's the prophetic word of God. It's not something that I make up or I don't have anything else to preach, and so I decided to preach warnings. I don't really like preaching warnings because people want to hear feel-good sermons, and I like feel-good sermons. It makes me shout. But I would rather be prepared for something than be unprepared and caught off guard. And so I've come to understand down through the years that God doesn't send warnings so that we can be afraid, but He sends warnings to us so that we can be in a state of preparedness. As we see in the story of Joseph. He sends the warning of 7 years of plenty and tells them that afterwards it's going to be 7 years of famine. I've come to understand, and my sons can attest to this, sometimes you can have a lot, and sometimes you can have a little. I remember the years when it seemed like, the money was flowing real good. Look in the account, they had $60,000, $70,000 in the bank. And I remember when we crashed and burned, and it seemed like all the money dissipated. There are good times, and there are bad times. But I appreciate God when He lets you know when you're in the good times what to do in preparation for the hard times. He has, for the past couple of years, been sending a word to us that we are to save. Look at your neighbor and tell him it's time to save. And many times when things are going good, it's hard to think that this will ever end. It's almost like, you have a tree out in the backyard it just keeps pumping money and you don't think that it's ever going to stop. But don't you know things can happen overnight? Yes. One day things are going good. Next day, it's a crash. And we see from the story, and the Lord gives us all these different stories for purposes and reasons and principles. We see a principle here and a purpose is that God sees the future. He lives outside of time, and it's very easy to get caught up in the now. Even so much so that they are blessed through the 7 years, but during the 7 years of famine, the scripture says in verse 31 that they won't even remember when they had a lot by reason of the famine, because we're always living in the now. What's happening to us now has more concern to our life than what either is going to happen tomorrow or what happened last year. And so God says in order for us to be prepared for the future, we have to listen to His voice so He can give us directive. Amen. And so He gives us warnings of the unseen. He doesn't say, look, there's a tornado. You don't need to say that because you can look and see a tornado. But He gives you warnings of things that's going to happen that you don't see. That perhaps next year is going to be a tornado. Those types of things. And I'm glad and thankful that God cares enough about us. And that He has us on His mind, that He would dare to come and speak to us and let us know in advance so we can have an opportunity and a chance to prepare. I learned the hard way that good times don't last always. Right. At a young age, I used to make $300,000, $400,000 a year. And I just party, spend. Until finally I was hooked on drugs and broke. And I look back sometimes and I think if I just have 1/4 of what I spent, I'd be doing just fine. But when you are running hard and you have the abundance of God, we have a tendency to think that nothing could possibly go wrong because everything is going so right. And that's how a lot of other people felt when they had the stock market crash of 1999 and year 2000. When the internet bubble busted, people were so hurt, they jumped out of windows and killed themselves. They lost over $5 trillion within overnight, maybe 1 or 2 weeks' time. Everything that they had their hopes on was gone. But of course, when things start going good again, we forget about the bad times. We forget about the hard times. And we begin to just trust things and stuff. The Bible tells us, don't put your heart upon money. It says if money increases, don't set your heart on it, because it will put on wings and fly away. It's been one of my favorite scriptures, because I understand that intuitively what the word is trying to say. It doesn't literally put on wings, but it's as if all of a sudden it's gone. We had the crash of the year 2007 and 8. The Dow Jones fell over 700 points. Housing market crash. It seemed like overnight. People lost properties. People lost jobs. People were angry. Marriages broke up because people were mad because my stuff is gone now. It's very difficult times when you start losing stuff. Especially if you don't have a God to cling to. And then we just had another sudden crash of the market over the weekend. Everyone excited, things are going good. You know, you got American Idol, and you got the new season, America's Got Talent, Survivor. It's just this constant keeping us deluded with not paying attention to what's really going on, trying to push you to get back to spending, more commercials, new cars, new clothes. And then you had the Brexit exit. Britain pulled out of the EU. UK becomes separate. People that are just into sports and partying aren't aware because they don't know, well, so what? They don't recognize that the market crashed over 600 points over the weekend. These type of financial crashes are the beginning of something that could devastate our nation overnight. People say, well, forget the United Kingdom. No, London is the central point of the financial market for all of the European market. We have international trading with them. And when our president says, well, we're not going to trade with you, we have to sit up and go, okay, what do I need to do, Lord? God is constantly paying attention to everything that's going on. And He wants us to know that He sends people like me and causes me to spend time paying attention to what's happening. So that I would be bold enough to send a word to you. To be aware and alert to the things that are coming down the pipeline. I want to show you one more story. And I like this story because God does it purposely for a point. In Daniel chapter 4. In Daniel chapter 4 verse 14, it's the story of Nebuchadnezzar. He's a king that's ruling over the nation. And he has everything. Kind of like our nation. We have everything. Even poor people have everything. We really don't have poor people in our nation. When you look at the scope of poorness in the world, we have people that don't have what they want, but we don't really have the kind of poor people that other nations have, where they don't even have the things that they need. You know, I lived on the streets for a period of time when I got to the very bottom of being on drugs. And even at the bottom, I found out that you can eat real good. Because all the restaurants have happy hour, 4 or 5 o'clock. And when you go in there, they got hot dogs, chicken wings, and everything's free. All you do is go in there and get in line, get something to eat. You can go to almost any hotel early in the morning and just walk up and eat breakfast. They don't know if you stay at that hotel or not. I'm talking about when you're poor and you live on the streets. I'm not talking about the saints, okay? That's a good idea. I cut my budget in half. I'm trying to make a point that even in a society where people are trying to cry poor, we have such a waste and so much food and so much abundance of everything, we don't really know what it's like not to have. And the generation that's coming up now don't even have a clue because they're so blessed. We've never had to go outside and run the electric cord to the neighbor's house just to get power. Never had to go and get a big old jug of water just to flush the toilet because they have it so good. And there's nothing wrong. You need to have it good, but in the midst of that, you need to be aware of what God is doing for you, so you don't take it lightly. People working jobs and getting paid, and then being angry that they got to go to work. I'm like, what? That's because they ain't never been without. And they take that money for granted. Let them live about a month with no money, no water, no place to lay your head. They'll be super grateful for a job. If I'm talking to you, just say amen. Because I've been there, where I've been ungrateful for the blessings of God. This morning, in this story, Daniel chapter 4, verse 14, it speaks to me from that perspective. Nebuchadnezzar had everything, and the Lord gives him a vision. In verse 13, he says, I saw in the vision of my head upon my bed, and behold, a watcher, and a holy one came down from heaven, and cried aloud and said, thus, hew down the tree, and cut off its branches, shake off its leaves, and scatter its fruit. Let the beasts get away from under it, and the fowls from its branches. Nevertheless, leave the stump of his roots in the earth, even with the band of iron and brass and the tender grass of the field. And let it be wet with the dew of the heaven, and let its portion be with the beasts in the grass of the earth. Let his heart be changed from man's, and let a beast's heart be given to him, and let 7 times pass over him. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the man by the word of the Holy One, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of men. This dream I, King Nebuchadnezzar, have seen. He tells this dream, and then Daniel begins to interpret the dream in verse 24. He says, this is the interpretation of the dream, the decree of the Most High, which has come upon my Lord the King, that they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make thee to eat grass as oxen. They shall wet thee with the dew of the heaven, and 7 times shall pass over thee, till thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdoms of men, and giveth it to whomever he will. Whereas they commanded to leave the stump of the roots, thy kingdom shall be sure unto thee. After that thou shalt have known that the heavens do rule. Wherefore, O King, let my counsel be acceptable unto thee, and break off thy sins by righteousness, and thy iniquities by showing mercy to the poor, if it may be a lengthening of thy tranquility. All this came upon the king Nebuchadnezzar. At the end of 12 months, he walked in the palace of the kingdom of Babylon. The king spake and said, is this not this great Babylon that I have built for the house of the kingdom, by the might of my power and by the honor of my majesty? And while the word was in his mouth, there fell a voice from heaven saying, O King Nebuchadnezzar, to thee it is spoken, the kingdom is departed from thee. The Lord sent a warning and told him, listen, be kind to the poor. You have everything. I have raised you up. I'm the God that raises one up and sets one down. And all I'm asking you to do is be kind to the poor and live righteously. He couldn't even do that. He was selfish and self-centered. And he felt like he had built his kingdom himself, like many people do today. They think their life is their life, that they're doing everything themselves. Like, I graduated and I got this job and I'm taking care of myself. And that recognizing, understanding that it is God that works in the affairs of men and women. It is the hand of God upon our life. It is God that gives us blessings. It is God that's opening doors. It is God that gives us favor. It is God that heals our body. It is God that gives us a sound mind. And if it had not been for the Lord, and because he was so arrogant and prideful, the Lord said after 1 year, oh, that's enough. And instantly, he lost everything. Instantly, he was driven into the fields like a wild man. His mind was completely lost. I know what it feels like to lose your mind. I know what it feels like to not really feel safe, but to sit on the side of the bed just gripped with fear, anxiety, worry, confusion. I know what it's like not to have a sound mind. Instantly, things happening to you. But I also know what it's like to come to yourself and realize, Lord, if you don't help me, I can't get help. I know what it feels like for God to turn your life around, for God to come in and say, now you understand that I'm the one that rules and I'm the Most High. Nebuchadnezzar came to himself. He lifted up his eyes under heaven in verse 34. He says, my mind returned to me. You ever see people walking around and think, man, what are they thinking? Even the people of the world today, when people reject righteousness and turn against the Most High and turn against Jesus Christ, they begin to lose sound thinking. They begin to lose their ability to comprehend right and wrong and good and bad. We're living in a society today where men and women have turned away from God. And that's why evil doesn't seem so bad. That's why we can make decisions that are completely contrary to the Word of God and don't think anything about it. But God said to send warning to the church this morning. Don't allow yourself to side with the world. Don't allow yourself to side with those that don't know God. You know God for yourself. And you got to keep a sound mind. You got to stay humble. You got to walk before your God with a contrite heart and a contrite spirit. Don't get overcome with entertainment. I understand. I like entertainment. Sometimes I hear myself preach and I'm thinking, man, you must hate entertainment. But no, I do like entertainment. I played, sports all my life since I was a little kid. Yeah, I played basketball in the 7th grade. Yeah, I played football, street basketball, all through high school, all through college. All the way into my 30s until my knees start swelling up. I couldn't play no more. In my 40s, their last day. They bring Samson in, and he tells the boy, just put my hands on the pillars so I can push. And he pushes the pillars down. It represents the judgment of God. He pushes the pillars down, and everyone in the stadium, they lose their life instantly. Just like that. God said to tell us not to be overcome with entertainment. Don't allow the goodness and the good things that are happening in your life to cause you to be blinded to the fact that things are getting ready to take a turn. The Lord tells us in His Word, Matthew chapter 24, turn there. In the last days, look at your neighbor and tell them we're living in the last days. I want to be the prosperity preacher, but I can't be. I want to be the tantalizing preacher so you can say things that give you itchy ears, but I can't be. Because the Lord has called me to be the watchman on the wall. The Lord has told me to sound the alarm, to lift the trumpet and blow it loud. Tell my people about their sins and don't let them, if they get mad at you, then so what? Just turn and look the other way and tell somebody else. Because we're living in the last time. Look at the neighbor on the other side. This is the last time. They asked Jesus, when is the end of time? Matthew chapter 24, verse 4, Jesus said to them, take heed that no man deceive you. Don't let people deceive you into thinking that everything is fine. Everything's not fine. Save money. Save your money. Do not spend every penny. I'm giving you a word from the Lord right now. Save your money. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how much you have. If you have to save $5 a week, save your money. Because when we fall into the financial crunch, inflation hits. It ain't going to be $2 gas. Eggs aren't going to cost $1.69. Milk's not going to be $1.98. And you're saved $20 is not going to go as far. And if you don't have any money saved, you're going to be knocking on my door. Pastor, I'll be there for you as much as I can. But I'm giving you a word this morning. Take heed that no man deceive you. Don't let anybody make you think. It'll rock you to sleep that everything is fine. He says a lot of people are going to come in my name and say, I'm Christ, and shall deceive many. You shall hear wars and rumors of wars. There's all kind of people talking about war because war is going to come. He says, see that you be not troubled. Don't be troubled about war. If they're talking about war, don't be troubled by it because stuff has to happen. It has to happen because we're in the last days. It has to happen because we're in the last days. Look at this. Nation shall rise against nation. Kingdom against kingdom. There'll be famine. Pestilence. Anybody seeing famine in the world? One nation, famine hit them, seemed like overnight. They don't even have toilet paper. I was like, whoa, I don't know what I would do without toilet paper. There's no food on the shelves. People they don't know what to do. They're lining up way down the block, waiting for 4 to 5 hours. And see, we think, oh, that's there. It's not going to happen here. We got Walmart. We have Winco. Famine, pestilence. Pestilence is uncurable diseases. Zika virus is just one of pestilences that are going to come against the nations around the world. I'm telling you this because I need you to be aware to make sure you eat properly to strengthen your immune system. Don't just keep on eating McDonald's hamburgers and, well, I just like McDonald's. You can like it if you want, but you need to strengthen your immune system. Amen. This is a warning from the Lord. Learn about nutrition. Learn about proper eating so you can feed your children properly so they don't stay sick because the healthcare system is not going to be able to help you.
That's right. Keep talking. Say something.
Oh, this is the gospel. Pestilence and earthquakes. You got earthquakes in Oklahoma. They ain't never had earthquakes in Oklahoma. You got so many earthquakes in Oklahoma, it's ridiculous. Yeah, they got tornadoes too, but now they have earthquakes. And diverse places. The word diverse means many different places. Since when does Arizona have an earthquake? Lord have mercy, I moved here to get away from earthquakes. I lived in California for 30 years. Earthquakes all the time. Like, good, Arizona. Ooh, they don't have no earthquake. Well, what happened? There's an earthquake. What in the world? Everybody looking at me. I didn't bring earthquakes. It's the last days. Look at your neighbor, tell them it's the last days. But the Lord gives us encouragement in verse 13. He says, listen, they that endure to the end shall be saved. He says, regardless of everything that's going on, things that are happening, famine, struggles, financial shortfalls, if you will endure, if you will continue to hold on to your faith, if you continue to fight the good fight of faith, lay hold on eternal life. If you continue to trust God, God says, I'll bless you. Last scripture, Psalms 115. God says, I send warning because I want you to recognize that I know the future. And I know what it holds. And I know what it takes for you to go all the way through and come out on the other side. Because just like the good times don't last always, the bad times don't last always either. Yeah, things go down. But when things go down, then things go up. Yes, things go up. But things go up, things come down. And you have to know what's going on at what time. Are we going up or are we going down? So you can be in preparation. In Psalms 115 and 12, one of my favorite scriptures. I love this scripture, man. I love it because it's God speaking to us. In the midst of no matter what's going on, the Lord says, I have been mindful of you. He's been mindful of us. That's why he sends warning. He says, I'm thinking about you. I got my mind on you. I'm watching you. I'm watching your behavior. Not to say, oh, don't do this, don't do that. I'm saying, listen, I'm watching your behavior so I can direct you and order your steps right so you can be prepared. I've been mindful of you. The Lord has been mindful of us. He will bless us. See that? In the midst of famine, the Lord blesses us. In the midst of struggle, God blesses us. In the midst of hardship, God blesses us. When things are going good, God blesses us. When things are going bad, God blesses us. The only way that we cannot be blessed is when we stop trusting God. Don't put your eyes on the world. Don't put your eyes on the things that are going on. Don't put your eyes on the entertainment. Don't look at this and look at that. But put your eyes on Jesus so that God can direct your steps right. So that you can be prepared for whatever comes down the pipeline. You know the thing that hurts people the most when there's a bad situation? Is their heart. They become fearful and overcharged with excitement and they make bad decisions. When they had the stock market crash, the thing that made it worse is everybody went out and started selling. That destroyed it. All they had to do is be still. It would have recovered itself. But because of people rushing the sale, it drove the market straight down, even deeper. When things go wrong, people begin to panic. Don't panic. Trust the Lord. When you come, I hope this don't happen to you, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you come home and your stuff has been broken into and it's all gone, don't flip out. Don't just, act like somebody else. Be saved. Don't let your heart be on the stuff so much that if you lose your stuff, you lose your mind. Somebody hits your car, don't jump out the car fighting, screaming, cussing. What? It's accidents. Accidents happen. Trust God. And know that God says, I will bless you. If they take my bed, God's going to give me a better one. If they take my TV, He'll give me a bigger one. If they wreck my car, I'm getting a better car. Because God has already purposed that He will bless us. He doesn't bless us based on things that happens. He blesses us because He's God and He's more than able to do super abundantly above all that you dare to ask, hope, dream, and desire in every area of your life. All you got to do is believe God's word, stand on God's word. No matter what happens, God's got you. And the Lord will bless us. See that in verse 12? Let's read that together, verse 12. Let's read. The Lord has been mindful of us. He will bless us. He will bless the house of Israel. He will bless the house of Aaron. He will bless them that fear the Lord, both small and great. The Lord shall increase you more and more, you and your children. Hello, somebody. Oh, you ought to give a little answer to that. This is a word from the Lord. Lord says, yeah, I'm sending you warning, but I want to send you a word of encouragement that no matter what goes on, no matter how the market crashes down, no matter so glad that I honor God with my life. And I'm going to close with this thought. On Wednesday, I gave the testimony, an additional testimony to last Sunday. And last Sunday, I talked about how God blesses your thoughts. That if you can even think a thing, God will do it. And how I was in the restroom and I was looking at we have toilet holders to hold the toilet paper, and one of the restrooms wouldn't have one. And I was sitting there going, man, we don't have no toilet holder for toilet paper. Amen. I left town and took the kids to Knoxbury Farm, came back. Guess what was in the bathroom when I got back? I didn't ask anybody, say anything to anybody. I just thought it. Before I went to California, I pulled into Barnes & Noble's parking lot to get out to go buy a book. And I got out the car and I thought, man, I don't have no money. I can't buy no book. If I go in here, I know I'm going to buy a book. And I got back in the car and I left. When we got back from Knoxbury Farm, I got a Father's Day card, and guess what was in the Father's Day card? A $50 Barnes & Noble gift card. I'm telling you, the Lord will hear your thoughts. And He says, I will bless you. All you got to do is fear me, respect me, and honor me, and love me, and obey me, and all the desires of your heart. If your ways please me. Come on. Well, that's what the scripture says. He says, if your ways please me, I'll give you the desires of your heart. What is He talking about? He says, if you just do what I'm asking you, everything that you think about. Y'all looking at me like I'm crazy.
Come on now.
Everything that you think about, the desires of your heart, He says, I will do those things for you. You don't need a 10-point blessing plan. Come on.
Make it plain.
The desire. What do you desire from God? What do you want from God? What is your desire for your life? Is your heart open to believe God for the impossible? If your ways just please Him. If you just live a life that's acceptable to Him. And even though I'm bringing warning to you, that you will listen to the warning of God and trust Him and be in preparation, because God will use you to help somebody else. In the story of Pharaoh and Joseph, they stored up through the 7 years of plenty. They stored up corn. They kept storing it up, storing it up, storing it up, storing it up. And in the 7 years of famine, everyone lost all their crops. They were hungry, man. And they came Pharaoh. And they were able to sell their property to get something to eat. But that wasn't the real purpose of what was going on. There was the family of Joseph that was in another land where the famine had come. And they didn't know what to do. And the father said, I heard that there's corn in Egypt. And he sent his sons there to go see. And when they got there, Joseph, their youngest brother, was able to provide for them and their whole family. Because Joseph took heed to the warning, he was able to bless his family, his father, his brothers, his kids. I come to declare to you this morning that God's given you a warning, not so that you can be afraid, but so that you can be a blessing to everybody around you. A blessing to your sisters, a blessing to your brothers, a blessing to your husbands and wives, your mother and dad, friends, relatives, cousins. Well, how am I going to bless all them? Listen, God will do it. Because God says, I will bless you. Amen. And the blessing that He gives to you is not for you only. Be open to receive what it is that God has for you. Be open to obey whatever it is that God asks you to do. Do not resist the Lord in these last and evil days. Stay prepared and endure to the end. Let's give the Lord a hand praise for us. We are living in a time of uncertainty. And I want to pray for you this morning if you want prayer. Sometimes people look at the news and think, man, that's stuff going on. I'm not sure what to do. I want to pray that God will give you a firm spirit to abide under His shadow, to stay steadfast, unmovable, abiding in the work of God, trudging away, doing what God has called you to do. And watch how God uses you. I want to pray against fear that might come against your mind, that might come against your heart. I want to pray for courage. God will give you courage to stand under pressure. People break when pressure comes. They're all fine when everything's going good. But when pressure comes, you have a tendency to break. I'm praying that God give you stability to stand. If you want prayer, you can come up here right now.